Morning.
I'll just repeat that. Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning,
Hi, good morning,
Talvinder.
Talvinder.
Hi, Dalin. Good morning.
I almost felt like saying Mani Sonia. Please repeat. Um, how is everyone?
So far, so good.
One bola. Aishwarya. Hi Aishwarya.
Hi, Dalin.
This is one UX issue for sure in Zoom. It takes a bit of time, especially in larger groups, that to find out who is talking. So a small case study that you guys can work on, and I think this will tie back to what I'm going to talk about today. How would you improve this entire UX of Zoom, especially in larger groups? So the speaker, I mean the host, is able to find out who is talking. Think about it. It's a tricky problem. Yeah, for me, for example, as I'm the host, I have two options. I need to open the participants list and see whose mic is fluctuating. Yeah, whose mic is fluctuating, and that is one indicator for me. And the second indicator is in the entire sea of tiles that I can see right now, which tile has a green bar, and the green bar green border shows up only the time where the person is talking. So only in that time I need to look throughout who is talking. A bit tricky. There are a few solutions to this, which other tools have implemented. I'll not give you an answer to that. It'll be good if you guys can think about it.
Pop-up is good.
Yeah, think about it. It can be a very interesting exercise. Okay, first out of the day, I would like to see your faces. It's a Sunday. It doesn't matter you are in the bed, in the rajai, next to the heater, having your coffee. I would like to see you guys. Thank you, Ashwin. Hi, Jaji sir. Commando बन के बैठे हो आप तो.
ठंड बहुत है भाई.
Hi Gaurav. Hi Deepankar. Hi.
Hi, Talvinder.
Hi Vishal. Shantanu. Surya Narayan. Keshapo. Is that your actual name?
Hi, Talvinder. Good morning.
Hi Alicia. Okay. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 9. Okay. 10. Okay. So 10 out of 28 right now. It's still 40%. Help me get to 50% throughput. मजा नहीं आता ना, मतलब as a PM मजा नहीं आता है. 11. Hi Srichand. Okay. ठंड यहाँ पे भी है. Okay. ठीक है. Others, I'll strongly suggest and bug because there are going to be more sessions like this. I'm going to bug you for every other session. जहाँ पे I would want you guys to switch on the cameras. Okay, make it a habit to switch on your cameras. This is how life is going to be. This is how your work is going to be. So the sooner you get used to this idea of switching on the cameras and staying in, the better it is. Switching on the cameras has certain psychological benefits. One, of course, you are forced to think of only the thing that is going on right now. You are present in the moment. यहाँ पे जब कैमरा नहीं होता है, anonymity has a certain advantage कि चलो बीच में इंस्टा भी देख लेते हैं, बीच में कुछ और भी देख लेते हैं, बीच में मम्मी ने, वाइफ ने, हस्बैंड ने बुलाया है तो चलो वो भी देख लेते हैं, राइट? भाई साहब बोल रहे हैं कि कोई बात नहीं, रिकॉर्डिंग तो है, बाद में देख लेंगे. How many times have you actually seen the recording later on? Yeah. So be in the moment. It takes 1.5 hours. It's actually cheaper to stay in the moment, finish it, and get done with it than to say कि अच्छा बाद में देख लेंगे यार, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. Yeah. Cool. अगर संडे को उठ ही गए हो तो फायदा उठा लो. So topic today is repositioning and resume. See, most of my sessions are going to be like this. I prefer not to use slides. I rather prefer to have a direct chat one-on-one with everyone, and to use whiteboards and to use the Chrome browser as much as possible. I would like you guys to interrupt me. I would like you guys to tell me any doubts, anything that you feel is something that is new, for example, or doesn't align with what you are aware of. I'm completely okay. I will be happy to answer. Okay, another UX issue with Zoom. Where the hell is Whiteboard? I know where it is, but it should not be where it is. It's in the share screen chat. Why? How is share screen Whiteboard? I don't have a Whiteboard separate screen. It should be somewhere else. There's a term for this. So now they have actually educated people that we are wrong, but here it is. If you want to use Whiteboard, this is how you have to use it. There's a term for it. I'll not tell the term. You guys have to find it. The same logic or the same funda is in mobile apps also. Not the most recent mobile apps, the design language there, but for a very, very long time. Actually, we had to in a lot of apps. In a lot of apps, the hamburger menu is in the top left. Yeah, the hamburger menu is in the top left. It should not be there because it is not accessible. Right? The phones have become much, much larger now, right? Look at my giant phone. It's a 6.4 inches. There's no way my thumb can reach it. Right? And I believe I'm a normal human like you guys. So same logic, why this hamburger menu is there is why this whiteboard is here. Okay. Anyway. Some of the things that I'm talking about right now will be directly useful. This will become your homework very, very soon by the end of the session. So, repositioning and resume. Resume to suna hoga. Okay. I hope everybody is comfortable with Hindi and English the way I'm talking. Anybody who has a problem, please voice it right away. Bhag mat jana. Don't run away. I will translate everything. So, I'm going to continue the way it is. If anybody has a problem, please voice it. I'm perfectly okay.
Talvinder, easy words will work, but the complicated words in Hindi might give a problem. So,
Okay. 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 So I'm sure resume is a term that all of you are comfortable with, are aware of what it is, what it means, what the document really is, and so on. But what the hell is repositioning, right? Let me first set certain things, certain context. Okay. All of you are here to find a new career or to develop a new career or to develop a career, basically upskill and get a better career. The definition of a better career could be anything. It could be better company, better role, better people around me, better salary, Better salary usually comes as the first point and then the rest. But in my opinion, this is the sequence in which it should be. It's exactly like how getting into a better college early on in the life might be hard, might be difficult, might lead to a lot of compromises because you will have pretty bad class 11th and class 12th because you'll not be doing anything but studying. But then it sets you up for the life, right? Same thing for better college, better people around you. Sorry, better company and better people around you. If you're a better company, of course, you'll have better people around you. Same goes to the reason you go to better colleges. You don't go to better colleges for better professors. That's myth. That doesn't happen. uh, uh, but you go for better brand name and better people around you, right? And if you do this, salary and everything else automatically follows. That's the reason I gave that sequence. For a better career, what are the three things that are needed? Two things I'm sure you guys are aware of. So, assets needed for better career. One is resume. Two is network. You need a strong network. Right. So either you have your own network or you piggyback on somebody else's network, but you need a network in some way. Yeah. There's one more which I'll come to. What is resume? Resume is a proof of achievements. Try to remember this, okay? It's a proof of achievements. What is network? Network is proof of credibility. Right? मेरे को मत मानो कि दूसरा बंदा बोल रहा है इसकी बात मान लो. मैं तो अपनी तारीफ करूंगा ही, लेकिन दूसरा बंदा तारीफ क्यों कर रहा है? Right? So which is where the network helps, which is where a referral helps, which is where you try to reach out to a person in a company that यार मेरा जरा लगा देना है ना, please HR को बोल देना. Why? Because the HR is not going to listen to me, but HR is going to listen to you because you're already part of the company. So HR trusts you or believes that you are a credible person. Yes. Similarly, resume. Now, a good resume is a proof of your achievements. Okay. It's not a proof of a laundry list of your KRA. KRAs are not achievements. For those who don't remember what KRA is key responsibilities, basically. Right? The responsibilities assigned to you. That as an X, you have to do Y, Z, A, B, C. You know, yeah. The third thing which matters, and that is a portfolio. And portfolio is your proof of work. Okay. Now, this gyan is very prevalent in people who work in jobs like in technology world, programming, design. These people, the first thing they'll do is actually create their portfolio. Network is an ongoing process, but the first thing that they will do is create their portfolio. Portfolio in their design world would land up in Behance, Dribble, or something similar. Developers, work they solved, would create their work on GitHub. Right, and they will also answer, or some of them will not use GitHub or not use GitHub to its entirety, but they will, for example, get active on Stack Overflow or something similar, where they can answer questions, where they can build a certain kind of profile for themselves that, yes, I'm active and I have these many points, I'm actually good. Right? What about product managers? What about sales managers? What about ops people? What about everybody else? Usually technology janta is about 5%, maybe 2%, depending on, of course, on the company, but 2% to 5%, max 10% of the entire size of the team. What about rest of them? How would you develop some amount of trust? So okay, I'll not keep it as a suspense, but very simply, these three assets, you have to make them work together. So we need a good resume, which talks about your achievement, not about your OKRs. Sorry, not about your KRAs. I've seen too many resumes now where you just simply list down as as a marketer, I was responsible for social media. Okay. What did you do? That is not written. So you helped in growing the brand. You grew the following of the brand or the reach of the brand from 1,000 followers to 20,000 followers within 2 months. That's something that matters. Nobody gives a damn about whether you were managing social media or not, or how exactly you're doing. How ke liye I'll like to talk to you in the interview. Yeah. So coming to a network, again, network is something that you will utilize your current company, you'll utilize your college, you'll utilize wherever you're studying. So in here, for example, I really doubt if all of you are utilizing the network that you are part of. If you're actually aware, the current students, the past students, where are they, what are they studying, where are they working, what kind of background they are coming from, and so on. Broadly, each one of you, somebody might be very strong in technology, somebody might be very strong in design, somebody might be very strong in business, somebody might be very strong in some specific domain, and so on. If you know that you have to get into a certain domain, if you know that you have to get into some sorry, one of my screens crashed. Yeah. So so if you're aware that you have to get into these are your weaknesses. Let's say you do not have a very strong technology background. Let's say you do not have very strong design background. Let's say you do not have very strong domain experience in some particular domain. Just give me a second. Sorry, one of my screens crashed. Just give me a second. Yeah. Okay. Back up. Yeah. So for example, within Pragmatic itself, right now, I think there are, I'm not sure how many people are here, 35. So about 32 people are here, right? At least 30 of you can invest some time in finding out who is who, right? So if you are attempting to become a product manager in a fintech company, there are a lot of people who are currently working in fintech. Have you made friends with them? Have you tried to find out what's going on? Right? You have a strong opportunity. I'm not sure how many of you are doing it. And let's say you are an introvert, worst case, you are an introvert, you cannot really put yourself out and start asking questions and stuff. That's okay. There is Sarika, there is Swati, right? Reach out to them to find out who is who, and we'll be more than happy to make connections. But that's how networks work. Yeah. Third, portfolio. In product management, because you ultimately the product that you develop is the one which matters, right? That is the one which is going to give you value, and that is the one which is going to give you a certain kind of recognition. But what to do about all of you, majority of you, who may not have developed a product so far? What can you do? So let's figure quickly, what do recruiters look for, and what can you do about your portfolio? What kind of proof of work can you show? Yeah. See, I typically like to take an analogy, or rather a metaphor, that product managers without the developers and designers are like theoretical physicists, right? They come up with their theory, they try to prove that theory using formulas, using this, using that, using all the data points that they have, using the logic that they have, right? But in the end, it is still theory. But if you do a good job, that theory is pretty valid. It sounds like it's pretty logical that yes, this is how it is supposed to be. Yeah. And then somebody else, a developer, designer, the engineering team, everybody can come together to develop that and then take it to the market. Now, after taking it to the market, there's a chance that it might not work, right? In which case it could be a collective failure that, okay, there were some fundamental things that were wrong, which is okay. Yeah. So putting differently, if I divide this entire process of developing a theory, developing a hypothesis to be taken into the market into two parts, where on one end, there is a product manager who is coming with the theory, creating the entire logic, etc. And on the other hand, there's a product owner along with developers, along with designers, etc., who is actually executing on that theory and so on. So theoretical physicist and experimental physicist, if you understand the difference. Right? Experimental physicist doesn't understand theory. He picks up anybody's theory and designs experiments around it, and then runs it. Yeah. Right now, given that you do not have developers and designers, that's one. And secondly, at the stage that you are in, people are not even going to give you developers and designers because they do not trust if you think right. Right? When I say people, I'm talking about recruiters and companies. When they're judging you in the interviews, they're essentially trying to find out if you have the depth in your thinking or not. Right? So the best way to present that is to create something that proves that you are good. And that create something is very easy. Write a blog or write an article. When I say article, I'm using it in a slightly loose. So the best way to create a portfolio as for a aspiring product manager, for a product manager, is to write article. An article is a loose term. You can create a video, you can create a slide deck, you can create a set of templates. I mean, you are free to do whatever you want to do, as long as you are able to show what you are capable of. For example, I started today's chat with the UX issues in Zoom, and I just mentioned two of them. There are a ton of them, right? But we have got used to it, just like WhatsApp. WhatsApp has a ton of UX issues. Okay. But we've gotten used to it. Or we have figured out the workarounds with those UX issues that now you have gotten used to the workaround. Right? Pretty much how we live in India, right? We figure out the workarounds everywhere. That doesn't mean that the UX is actually good. The UX is not good, but Jina hai to Jina hai. Right? So what if you you start observing all of these things? In fact, these are exactly the kind of questions that get raised in the interviews also. What's your favorite product? Google Maps. How would you improve it? And you're stunned. गूगल मैप्स को इम्प्रूव भी करना सोचता है, इतना अच्छा प्रोडक्ट है, बेस्ट प्रोडक्ट है, इसमें क्या ही कमी है, परफेक्ट है. नो, गूगल मैप्स हैज टन ऑफ इश्यूज. इफ यू एक्चुअली ट्राई टू रिकॉल 2 साल 3 साल पुराना गूगल मैप्स वर्सेस टुडे, significant improvement, right? So if you start writing, creating some sort of content format, whether it is article, video, slide deck, templates, or anything else that you guys can be creative about, this will help you in doing few things. Okay. And this will actually tell, I'm kidding you not, this is going to help you more than your resume, much more than your resume. Okay. One, it will force you to be structured. It will force you to think deeply about issues around you. You'll look for some ideas, right? वो ideas कहाँ से आएंगे? By looking at the problems, by looking at see, issue number 3. I wrote something, now I want to edit it, I can't do it. Anyway, so it will force you to think deeply about the issues around you. You cannot really create an article deep enough, meaningful enough, if you do not have the depth that is required to write it. Right? Number 3, it will force you to learn about an issue in depth. Right? So for example, Zoom itself, let's say one of you say कि यार इतना सोचना नहीं है, Zoom में बताया issues है, चलो सोचते हैं, right? It will force you to start thinking about how video conferencing work, what technology runs behind it, what systems are there, what system engineering is, right? You start thinking about it. Why do I have to install Zoom app to use it properly? Why can't I use it in browser? So much easier. That's also a UX issue, right? You have to install it, you have to wait for it, you have to, etc., etc. Why do you have to do that? Yeah. So with these 3 things, there are a few more benefits, but I'll just come to this 3. So when your thinking becomes more structured, when your thinking goes deeper, and you become more observant of issues around you, issues that bother you, and you write about this not once, but few times, multiple times, your ability to identify problems and then articulate or come up with a reasonable solutions around it will improve. It's very similar to how you get physically fit. The first few times it's going to be horrible. You'll be huffing and puffing. You'll be like, I'll die, but I'm not going to go again to the gym or for another run. But if you be at it, the first time maybe walking 1 kilometer was hazardous for you, right? But if you be at it in 1 week, in 2 weeks, you'll be walking 5 kilometers and you'll be okay. And perhaps you will be even addicted, right? Similarly, this will ensure that one, your own muscle gets formed, gets developed about thinking about problems, observing like a product manager, thinking deeply about it, and acquiring a much bigger body of knowledge. Number 2, when you're putting something out like this, you're essentially releasing something. You're releasing something out in the wild with your name on it. And you're willing to be wrong about it. It's very similar to releasing a product. The product is out in the wild. It might be buggy. It might be this, it might be that, but you're releasing it. When you do that, you are you go through the entire cycle of, is the formatting right? Is the image good? Is the subject line good? Am I marketing and am I putting it in the right places, etc., etc. This is very similar to how a product gets released, and you become much more observant of what it requires to take something that you already have out in the market. And number three, the most important one, this helps you build a portfolio above and beyond your resume and your network. Why is it important? A resume, a lot of you, for example, might have applied and might have been rejected, right? You might have been rejected, not even shortlisted, for example, right? Why? Because the resume that went, or the network that went, haven't yet given you the confidence, gave the recruiter the confidence that, okay, this person is somebody I would like to talk to. Why? The proof of achievement is not aligned with the proof of achievement that they want, right? The network hasn't given that confidence. But the portfolio, if you start writing about product mindset that you have, the things that you can think about, that there's a reason why you believe you are a product manager material. The other two documents, the other two assets don't reflect that, because that is based on your past experience, past career. So if you start working on your portfolio today and write one article every week, the first articles will be shitty. Let's be honest about it. It's going to be an exception that your article will be great. The first off, like out of the bat. But get comfortable with that. That I'm going to write shitty articles. It's perfectly okay. Don't write it deliberately. Don't write it deliberately. Don't sabotage your own career. Don't do that. But the first few articles are going to be shitty. That's okay. The third, maybe fourth, maybe fifth. It's exactly like if you're not embarrassed by your first product, you're releasing too late, right? Same story. Go ahead and release whatever you're aware of. You might be from health tech, you might be from ed tech, you might be from fintech, whatever it is, whatever you know uniquely. You might even think that what you know is not unique enough. If you feel like that, here's a simple exercise. Go ahead and open Instagram and Reels. Scroll some of them. After maybe 3 or 4 scrolls, and after seeing the same song being repeated with the same actions being repeated by 3 different people, ask yourself the same question. What you know is unique or not? Yeah. So stop thinking about, is it unique? Is it not? You're not doing it. You're not publishing any of this material to tell, to have a large following. That will be a goal in the later stages. Currently, the goal is I have a recruiter who I want to give a peek into my mind. And I want to give them the confidence that I am actually amazing. My resume doesn't show it very well or doesn't reflect very well because my resume belongs to my previous life, which was in this, jahan pe bhi maine acha kaam kiya, but may not be aligned with what you are looking for. But I have the capability. Read this. Read this articles that I've written. Right? And that's when you will switch on a different path for yourself, where people will see you in a different light. Okay. The unfair advantage you are going to get when you write, apart from this, it's very much like when I say all this, right? It will force you to be structured, think deeply, you will learn more, etc. I can almost hear some of you thinking, मुझे पता ये मेरे लिए हेल्दी है, लेकिन मैं यार कौन लिखेगा बैठ के, राइट? अच्छा खाना तो सबको पता है, अच्छा खाना चाहिए, 5 लीटर पानी पीना चाहिए, एंड ये करना चाहिए, वो कौन करेगा, सवेरे कौन उठेगा, जल्दी कौन सोएगा, राइट? Just like in health and physical fitness or mental health, you need to find your anchor. What motivates you? I believe salary motivates you. ऐसे चाहिए ना, right? So अगर salary motivate करती है, salary को डालो. I can guarantee if you start writing and do justice to it, you will find your salaries escalating. नहीं escalate हो रहा होगा तो मुझे बताना. I am very serious about this. I've not seen a single student of mine in the past 4 years, and myself included. I have also done the same exercise. I've not seen a single student who has done this exercise diligently and has not seen a massive increase in their salaries. So 100% of the students who did this succeeded. 100% of them succeeded by a good margin. Okay. I wouldn't say 100% of people who didn't do this didn't succeed. They also succeeded, but वो struggle अलग था. जो मुझे समझ नहीं आता कि it is much easier to actually struggle and write than to struggle without. Right? ये जो आपका current inertia है of not writing because कभी किया नहीं है, कभी लिखा नहीं है, मैं सोचूं कैसे? Publish क्यों करूं यार? मुझे आता क्या है? Drop all of those ideas. Drop all of those things. Drop that baggage. I'll tell you something. Right now, nobody knows you in product world, perhaps. That should be the best incentive for you. Nobody cares. Perfect. I will publish. Nobody cares. Right? Because you're not writing it because you want to have 1,000 followings and 10,000 followings. You're not writing for that. You're writing to impress a specific target audience of your recruiters. You're impressing them. Okay. You're not impressing general janta ke dekho product mein ye funde hote hain. So don't go ahead preaching product management to anyone because right now people don't trust you with that. People don't trust you with product management per se. Right? But when you start talking about issues which are very glaringly obvious, or which are articulated very well, right? They will start believing that, okay, you have a good eye for observing problems and coming up with good potential solutions. Okay. Now, I'll do two things. One, I'll show you an example of what a good article is. Okay. And secondly, I would ask for volunteers. So start looking through your resumes and everything. Resume or anybody who wants to talk about this. कि मैं लिखूं क्या? या मुझे नहीं पता. मैं तो हुई नहीं product manager वगैरह. So I will be asking for volunteers. You have two options. Either be a volunteer or I will choose you to be a volunteer. Okay. So while you marinate on that, I will show you few examples. क्यों नहीं? एक example दूंगा. And I think that's the most lethal example I have. कैमरास धीरे धीरे बंद हो चुके हैं. कोई तो सुन लिया करो. Yeah. Yeah. So I hope you can see my screen. Yeah. So Akshay is one of our students. In fact, he was one of our early ED students, executive diploma student. So if you look at his background, yeah. So he's a BSc guy, right? He's a BSc guy. He did a bunch of things, like a couple of interns, and then he was a co-founder at a SaaS company. He tried to build it out, didn't work out very well. There were just two people doing a lot of things. Eventually, it didn't work out. Okay, which is roughly when he came to us. from what you're seeing, BSc students usually are not considered for product management, right? Recruiters would not want to work with them, right? Engineering to कब से कहो, अगर MBA नहीं है तो कम से कम engineering तो हो. That's the basic expectation, right? So there was a certain amount of bias against him, right? His resume was not strong enough, right? Network was strictly okay because he was a founder, so he had built some network, but it was strictly okay. And portfolio-wise, the product was not impressive. It was ugly. The Red Swan Labs app was ugly, in his own words, not mine words, his own words. So, लेकिन switch तो करना है, job तो लेनी है, क्या करें? I have what to do. So I was his mentor actually at that time, and I suggested him that exactly the same thing, that you need to tell people that you are amazing, not by your own words or by my words. Let your work speak. If your product is not that impressive and you cannot really showcase your product all the time, then let's do the other thing. Let's show your thought process. Let's show you how you think. Right? Let's demonstrate that and do a good job at it. A job that everybody is going to get impressed instantly. Right? So out of the many ideas we discussed, many ideas, we picked up pricing a SaaS product. So he in his, as one of the last things in his company, what he did was he launched a lifetime deal for his SaaS product. Lifetime deal is where a SaaS product will be available to you for a one-time fee, for a simple one-time fee. That's it. You don't have to pay monthly or on subscription. So how do you price such a thing? A lifetime deal. So this is the article that he produced. I'll not go through it in detail. You guys can search him and we can land up here. But he went about, he used the 15th module that we have, pricing members of experience. He used some of that. And then he built out the entire logic, cost plus based pricing mein kaise pricing hogi, right? We expected 500,000 customers, including SMEs, fixed infrastructure cost per month, variable infrastructure cost for external APIs. The Excel sheets use the different, the different segments, the different possibilities within which he has to come up with the pricing, etc. Marginal cost per customer, total cost, etc. The sheets used, added the link as well so that others can use it. Resource usage ka pura logic, summary service, etc., etc. Competition-based pricing. Went into G2, created the entire segmentation that G2 mein what segments, what capabilities exist, what sub functionality is included, how are they priced, and so on. Then value-based pricing, how to identify the value that we are providing. Right. Then cash flow projection model, कैसे बनाएं, कैसे use करें, and create a pricing for LTD launch. Right. Then he created this Excel sheet for that. How much salaries are required, this and that. Right. He added all of this information. Now, without going into how accurate this is, how relevant it is, how relevant to you, for example, or how relevant to the recruiter, for example, one thing for sure is if I come across this as a single piece, more than the resume, I'll be impressed and I'll be like, okay, the person has thought through so many different angles and it seems pretty deep. And I'm going to spend maybe 10 minutes, 20 minutes more to go through the different sheets and see what he has done. For somebody with just 2 years of experience, otherwise in his resume, just 2 years, 2.5 years of experience, this is very impressive work. And I will be interested in talking to this person and finding out more about ये सोचता कैसे, क्या करता, अगर ये सोच सकता है इतना सब कुछ, इतना deep में सोच सकता है, then maybe there's a chance that we have landed on a pretty good product manager in the raw. Make sense? Would you like to talk to this guy? Simple question. Nobody?
Yes.
Yes.
Why? अगर मैं resume दिखाता सिर्फ आपको, would you like to talk to him?
Not that much. But after seeing this detailing and all the things, would be pretty much
You're
good
curious.
to talk. Yeah.
तू है कौन?
Resolution process changes over here. Relation
Exact
thinking.
point. So proof of work. So this decade is about proof of work. Last decade was largely about knowledge. कि कितना ज्ञान ले लिया, because last decade के beginning में 2020 2011, I suddenly feel very old. So 2011 is when MOOCs started. Right? MOOCs चालू हुए थे उस time पे, where courses started getting disseminated. And courses in the form of सिर्फ knowledge, कि knowledge मिल जाएगी सबको तो दुनिया skill हो जाएगी, ready हो जाएगी. It definitely helped. It got us to a certain advanced position जहाँ पे if you want to learn about something, you can learn about. Do you think he had all of this knowledge? He didn't have all of this knowledge. We helped him with this knowledge, but then he applied it to show that I just don't have the knowledge. I can actually apply it in a realistic scenario. Right? So he did all of this gyan, but ultimately he went with his gut and he priced the product at a certain level and he sold whatever license he had to sell. He has to sell. Right? But he demonstrated that he has the skill to apply a theory into action. Yeah. This gave him a lot of confidence. He ultimately applied it about 6 companies. He cracked 3 of them. One was a startup. The first one was a startup, gave him about 12-13 lakhs. Second was Ola, which traditionally doesn't offer a job to anybody but from the tier 1 colleges. Right? But he cracked Ola as an APM. Ultimately, he went with the company that you are seeing, Zomato. I'll not say the exact salary, but it is upwards of 25 lakhs. So 13, 16, and upwards of 25 lakhs. These are 3 offers he took. There was one thing that he didn't follow of what I used to tell him. Applied to a lot of places. He didn't do that. He applied at selected 6 companies, but then he put in all his energy, all his time in just ensuring that he converts these 6 opportunities. Yeah.
One more thing, Talvinder, which I'm saying is he didn't write so many articles. Only 3 articles has been in his name, and
Correct.
that only gave him this thing,
Exactly.
which he's into right now.
Correct. So long story short, I hope I have drilled down enough and I've shown you enough value to creating content, writing content. Again, do not be disillusioned by this thought that मेरे को क्या ही आता होगा. Each one of us are on our own journey. Your target here is not to get a certain following. You may get a following. That's a byproduct. That's a byproduct. You are not looking for following. You are looking to present your proof of work. You're trying to present that I'm actually awesome. I can really think through complicated problems and I can do an amazing job at it. Don't trust my resume. Trust this. He wrote this article, Akshay, and then he marketed the shit out of it. So every single place he sent his resume or he applied for, he used to ask that please ask the recruiter to go through this article. क्यों बनाया? इसलिए बनाया है. इसलिए तो बनाया था. Correct? And then he used it अच्छे से, more than his resume. तो resume देख के बंदा रिजेक्ट भी कर देगा. इसको देख के बोलेगा यार एक सेकंड रुक जाओ, शायद कुछ बात हो सकती है, पता करते हैं. Right? So that's basically the logic. Create some content. Okay. Be perfectly comfortable putting yourself out. Right now, nobody knows you. Even better. You can do whatever. जो आपने बोला 3 articles हैं. Read the previous 2 articles. You will not be as impressed. Okay. So put yourself out. The first few articles may not be as good, may not be as impressive, but for that we are here. I am here. Saji sir is here. Everybody is here. You have a large peer network who will be able to tell you कि मजा नहीं आया यार, right? So create an article जिसको पढ़ के लोग मजा आया, right? And you have a large pool of people who will be able to happily validate, cross-check, वगैरह वगैरह. You can even poll what ideas, like okay, I have मैं तो sales का बंदा हूँ, लेकिन sales में मैंने समझा है कि how to bring out the key problems that a person has when the person is not comfortable talking to you. Sales वाले का काम यही होता है, right? Product manager, good product managers also do the same thing. They also spend a lot of time with the customers. The customer को पता ही नहीं होता कि क्या चाहिए, जो हम लोग क्रिप करते, राइट? साले को पता ही नहीं क्या चाहिए, लेकिन मांगता रहता है, बोलता रहता है ये खराब है वो खराब है, लेकिन पता ही नहीं क्या चाहिए. That is the reason you are getting paid big bucks, no बाबा? क्यों पैसे दिए जा रहे हैं? आपको इसीलिए दिए जा रहे हैं ना, ताकि पता करो जो कोई पता नहीं कर पा रहा है. So if you're a sales guy, think about it. You can bring that idea or that approach, that logic of how do you get comfortable? How do you make somebody comfortable so that they can share their inhibitions, they can share their vulnerability? कि यार मेरे को ये problem है. A junior of mine recently launched a company called Elo. It's a sexual wellness product for men. Okay, I really don't know what exactly he's planning to do, but by the very description, it definitely seems to be a problem that he's going to find very hard to talk to customers about. It's a taboo topic, right? मैं यही पूछ लूंगा सेक्सुअल वेलनेस के बारे में कौन कौन बात करना चाहता है. I'll see a lot of people dropping out immediately. भाई मेरे को पूछना दे, right? So imagine if you are a product manager in that company, and अब next बात बोलता हूँ कि okay, he most likely is going to raise about $10-20 million from Sequoia, and it's going to give you good bucks. Yeah, and you're like, your mouth waters कि अच्छा 40 लाख रुपए मिलेंगे मेरे को to begin my career as a product manager. अब क्या करोगे, right? So you have to figure out how to talk to people about things that they do not want to talk about, or they don't know that they have a problem. So sales janta, if there is a sales janta, if there is sales janta here, I'm sure you guys have done this since the beginning of time. Can you educate rest of the janta about it? Cross-functional concepts, एक जगह concept दूसरी जगह लगाना, right, is one of the trickiest but the most valuable skill that you have, that you can gain. Almost all of you have that. कोई QA है, कोई developer है, कोई कहीं से, कोई कहीं से. Can you apply these fundas in this new space? If you can do that, trust me, you will open up a very large. I'll give you an example. Something that I did recently. Physics की होगी सबने? इसलिए physics नहीं की तो बता दो. Anybody who doesn't understand physics, basics. I'm not expecting quantum physics or stuff. No? Okay, I assume everybody has done physics. इतना तो किया होगा. I'm holding a pen right now. Right? What forces are working on it? Okay. If I ask a question, calculate the calculate the coefficient of friction between my finger and the pen. What did I do just now? I have merged at least 3 different fun days, 3 different topics, right? Topic 1, gravity. This, I'm holding the pen up. There's an mg, right? There's an mg force down here, right? So gravity, that's the first concept. Second concept, that there's a friction. I'm holding it up. There are two fingers. So there is friction from the two fingers because of which is able to balance the mg force downwards. So that friction has to be working upwards. तभी तो रुका हुआ है, नहीं तो गिर ही जाता, right? And the third is that friction is calculated. याद है किसी को formula? चलो कोई नहीं. So there's a coefficient of friction and then there's a force, right? So mu f, right? Friction में भी दो तीन frictions होते हैं, right? याद है? Rolling friction, static friction, dynamic friction. याद है? Correct. So right now, because I'm holding the pen, it's static. So it's static friction लगा हुआ है, and इसके through निकाल रहा हूँ. So मैंने दो तीन concepts को मिला के एक problem बना दी. इस problem को और interesting बनाता हूँ. I'm sitting in a car which is going at a certain acceleration, right? And the pen is still stationary. What is the force parallel to the ground? Right? Now things become more interesting. They become more complicated. And if you are able to solve such problems, right? If you're able to solve such problems, basically means that you can apply 3 or 4 different concepts together in one single problem, right? Means you have learned things really, really well. Correct? Same thing applies here as well. If you can apply ideas from different concepts, ideas from different areas. So QA का idea यहाँ लगा रहे हो, इधर का इधर लगा रहे हो, जबरदस्ती नहीं करना है. लेकिन you will, if you have learned it well enough, you will see that it becomes second nature to find inspiration from completely random locations or random areas. Yeah. So do not be demotivated with this idea that मैं तो product manager हूँ ही नहीं, मैं तो कुछ किया ही नहीं इस टाइप का. आपने enough अभी सीख लिया है about product management, maybe enough सीख लिया है, नहीं सीखा जो भी है, but you have a certain sense of what product management is, right? And you can utilize. There is a reason why you felt that itch that I should be a product manager, right? Because you felt that you can think and you can solve such product problems. Now is the time to actually do that. Yes. What I would want from here is, I would like to see some action. Okay. I would like you guys to write, okay, I would like you folks to sit down and create a laundry list of your career achievements so far. It's an achievement for you. That could be an improvement in some metric. That could be a very challenging problem that you solved. The company benefited from it. It doesn't matter. आपको नहीं पता था, आपने सीखा और आपने किया. That's it. That's what matters. Right now, you just focus on yourself. So make a laundry list. Just make a large laundry list. Don't filter it out. कुछ भी मत. बस लिखो बैठ के. All the things that you've done. ठीक है? If you have quantitative outcomes of it, write that. If you have qualitative outcomes of it, write that. Make an Excel sheet, list, and the impact, why you think, basically, impact and why you think this is an achievement for you. Just write it down. Okay? That's exercise number 1 or homework 1. Sarika, Rakhi, and Jazid sir, we have to hold on to each one of these to complete their homework.
Sorry, Talvinder, I have a question.
Ajay.
So when you said impact and then write achievement,
Yeah.
so what kind of impact it should be? Like impact, like does my achievement impacted my company's efficiency or something like that? Or how should we start on that?
Okay. Would you like to share any of the achievements so far in your life?
Yeah, so I have worked on an unknown territory. Like I am from supply chain technology consulting. I am a supply chain technology consultant, and I've never worked on the taxations internationally. So I had handled a project for Brazil taxation,
Okay.
and that impacted my client's company supply chain efficiency by 21%. That and also improve the paperwork and decrease that paperwork like for 5%, I guess. I don't remember the exact number,
Got
but
it.
this was the first time that I worked on taxation, and I achieved it, and that was a good impact on that.
Got it. Understood. So this is a good example
Mhm.
that you came into a new territory and you wrote something. Now you have quantitative numbers also to talk about, which is great. Even if you didn't have, it's okay. This is one type of impact.
Correct. So my another question related to this. So not all my achievements have a number on it. So can
Give me an
we
example.
say um, that I never handled so sometimes like years ago, I never handled a team, but then my manager just walked up to me and just asked me to take this new task of handling 11 new resources under me, uh, which is very new task for me. So that did not impact anything on the client or my company's side, but I did achieve that for the first time, and it was like quite successful mentorship that I did.
Perfect. So I'll just take these two examples. So first example is the perfect, the classic achievement, right? I did ABC, which led to X improvement in my for the client or for my customers or for whatever. Classic achievement impact, right? So write that down. The second one is actually more interesting. I'll explain the reason. So the second one is where you went out of your comfort zone and you had 11 reportings for the first time, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
you learned for the first time how to handle 11 people and their quirks, how to get work done from 11 people, correct?
Correct.
Now, सोचने की बात है, ये तो हर कोई करता है. जैसे जैसे बुढ़े होते जाओगे वैसे वैसे आपकी टीम तो आ ही जाएगी आपके पास, राइट? तो इसमें अचीवमेंट की बात है या इसमें क्या ही कर सकते हैं. बट the fact is, as a product manager, you will be also be working with a lot of people. You'll typically have very small team reporting directly to you. That too, once you have become senior PM or VP and similar, right? But you typically will have no one reporting to you. You'll have developers, designers to work with. And Alicia can write about that. Hey, while working with 11 people out of the blue, I figured what deeply motivates people, right? What deeply motivates people. And and you can talk about those mental models, you can talk about psychology, you can talk about a lot of these things, you can go deeper into that, and you have hands-on feel of it कि हाँ ये करने पे लोग काम करते थे, ये करने पे लोग काम नहीं करते थे, या फिर तो रिजल्ट्स नहीं आते थे, या फिर मुझे बार बार फॉलो करना पड़ता था कि यार काम किया कि नहीं किया, हुआ कि नहीं हुआ, एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा. बट व्हेन आई चेंज सर्टेन थिंग्स, आई ट्वीक सर्टेन थिंग्स, suddenly it became much more proactive, that they started giving me the results or start giving reporting back to me without me having to poke into their life. You can go deeper into that and you can talk about this from the lens of a product manager who has to get work done from some of the quirkiest people, which is developers and designers, and get work done in time all the time.
Okay.
Right? So this is the second exercise that I want. But before we write these articles, तो मैं तीसरे पॉइंट पे आ चुका हूँ कि आई होप मैंने कन्वे कर दिया कि क्यों प्रूफ ऑफ वर्क बनाना कितना क्रिटिकल है आप लोगों के लिए. वो आई होप आई हैव कन्वेड वेरी वेल. आई होप आई हैव कन्वेड द बेनिफिट ऑफ इट. अच्छी सैलरी मिलेगी, 100% गारंटीड है. ठीक है. नंबर 2. नंबर 3, चालू कहाँ से करोगे, right? चालू करने के लिए if you are very creative, you can come up with a lot of ideas around you, etc. By all means do that. But I'm trying to give you a systematic approach to it. The systematic approach to this is, and take this as a general guidance, that many times in life, in your work also, you will come across situations where you have no idea of, and you do not have anybody to guide you either, right? Many times it's a hoga. Completely new problem, completely new set of issues, and you have no clue what to do, right? Always try to go back into your past and see all the achievements or all the failures that you have endured. And try to spend some time with those achievements and failures to figure out ये achievement हुई तो क्यों हुई, क्या किया था मैंने जिसकी वजह से ऐसा हुआ. कहीं ना कहीं तो मेरे अंदर कुछ, I have a good logical bone in my, somewhere in my head or somewhere in my body, which allows me to do the right things at the right time without knowing anything about it. So my instincts are good, but वो instincts भी कहीं तो आए थे, कोई ना कोई logic सही लगा था मेरा. So try to spend some time with that. Similarly, failure. यार कौन सी बुद्धि उस वक्त न भ्रष्ट हुई थी मेरी कि मैंने ये किया. Why did I do this? Correct? That way, you will be able to get better understanding of your decision-making process, which will then be able to help you find the signals that will propel you from here to the next point. जहाँ पे आपको कोई guidance नहीं मिल पा रही, आपको signals मिल जाएंगे. Signals आपके आसपास से होंगे, दिख नहीं रहे होंगे, आपने ध्यान नहीं दे रहे होंगे, या फिर you're too confused. इतने सब कुछ दिख रहा है, समझ में नहीं आ रहा क्या पिक करूं क्या पिक ना करूं, and so on. Right? So whatever the case is, first task is go back to your life, go back to your past, and please write down all the good, all the achievements, quantitative, qualitative, doesn't matter. I'll come to Aishwarya, just give me a second. I'll just complete this chain of thought. That's one. Second, write the impact that you believe it had on you, on the company, whatever you have. Don't judge, don't filter, कुछ मत करो. There is no filter here. आप अपने लिए कर रहे हो. ठीक है? Number 2. Number 3, rank them basis how you feel about it. Not कि उसका number बहुत high है, 100% ये था, फलाना था, 200% improvement हो गई वगैरह. Correct? But how you felt. You, आप लोग सबकी लाइफ में ऐसा हुआ होगा कि आपने ऐसा कुछ ना कुछ चीज आपने की होगी इसको, you are very proud of it. It may not have a very large impact on anybody, but it had a large impact on you, and you feel much more stronger out of that. For example, 2020 में मैंने सही तरीके से चावल बनाना सीखा था. When lockdown हो गया तो rice, I learned how to make proper rice. Right? I'm very proud of that because I had to do so many experiments and I figured it out on my own. So I'm very proud of that. Right? If I really have to draw lessons out of that, I can actually draw lessons also. कि मैंने कैसे वहां तक पहुंचा. Right? It might be not. It might be absolutely trivial, right? चावल बनाने की बात कर रहा हूँ. But the fact that I spent so much of time, 3, 4, 5 tries, water quantity, this, that, type of rice, I figured a lot of these things out. Right? The same fun days can be applied in a lot of places. When I don't know anything about it, how many times I have to try, what are the variables I have to look at. So the quantity of water I need to look at, the type of rice I need to look at, right? The heat I need to figure out, right? If I really want that dhaba style rice. Anyway, so number 1, write down your achievements, the impact associated with it. And number 2, rank them basis how you feel about them, right? It doesn't matter you spend 2 months on it or you spend 2 hours on it. If it is something that you're proud of, please write about it. Okay. So from that, right, from this list, we are going to pick up ideas on which we can create content. Unless and until you are writing about something you're proud of, the article is going to be shitty. fundamentally. So the reason you like what Akshay has written this time is because he was very proud of that entire exercise that he did. Right? He was very proud. He was very happy with the entire exercise. उसके results कितने आए, कितने नहीं आए, कितने बिके is secondary. But he knows that this entire exercise of how to come up with pricing of a SaaS product can be applied anywhere. And he is much more wiser now with all the information that he has gathered through this exercise. Make sense? Yes. I'll pause here. And in fact, I will share my screen and I'll show you one more thing, one more article that actually I have written after a long time. I'm not sure how many of you follow me on LinkedIn, but I just published it yesterday. Okay. Oh, nice. People are talking about it. Nice. Yeah. So this is something that I have written yesterday. I mean, I wrote it almost a month back, but I published it yesterday night. Can you see my screen? So this is my attempt. I believe the classic PRD has done its job very well, but it's time that we update it. We update it to a modern format where we can actually make the PRD more readable, testable, and usable. Okay. The older PRDs, the classic PRDs are very verbose. They are, because the instrument that he used, the method of communication is English, plain English, right? Now, plain English, I can write in so many different ways, right? I might be still be conveying the same idea, but it is very hard to keep it because of the nature of English. It's very hard to keep it precise, concise, one, and secondly, to make it testable, etc. So I ended up, this is my proposal. I have created a programming language called Carrot, which can be used for creating, for creating PRDs, for writing documentation in a much clearer and neater way. I'll let you guys go through this, but there are a few key ideas which I want to talk about, and this goes back to what I've been preaching so far. So there was an issue I have been feeling pinching since time and time again, that product requirement documents are painful to read. They get painful to read because they are very verbose, right? So पूरा पढ़ो, समझो, parse करो, and then जाके अपना खुद का एक वो निकालो. That's one. Second is, they don't, usually PRDs don't survive the first interaction with the developers. Developers will start poking holes into it, right? Which is perfectly fine. That's what they do. But then usko update karna and making changes throughout becomes very difficult, right? And keeping the PRDs updated through the entire journey of product development becomes very hard, very, very hard, right? And then जो eventually बन रहा होता है वो PRD से बहुत दूरी हो चुका होता है. So PRD doesn't stay as the source of truth. It becomes kind of the initial conversation starter. It's almost like Chinese whispers. मैंने बोला था कि मैं आज पिज़्ज़ा खाऊंगा, फिर जाऊंगा चीज़ा खाऊंगा, right? That becomes something else altogether. By the time it reaches a third or fourth person, it becomes Chinese whisper altogether. So looking at this problem, in fact, I have describe that thought process also of developing this DSL. DSL is domain specific language. Like SQL is a domain specific language. SQL is as a language is only valid in the relational database world, right? It cannot be used for creating websites, for example. As compared to that, PHP or Python is a general purpose language. It can be applied for anything, right? So the word difference hota hai. So ek DSL banaya hai, which is called Carrot, which can be used to create content, create requirements. When I was doing my research and I was trying to create this language, I ended up discovering something called Gherkin. Now, people who are in the QA world, developer world, they would know Gherkin, Cucumber, Gherkin, पता होगा शायद, right? मुझे नहीं पता था, right? मुझे नहीं पता था कि ऐसी ना ये ऐसी कुछ चीज भी exist करती है. right? And I discovered BDD, I discovered this, and I was like, okay, this is very interesting. But this belongs to a different world, QA world. There's a good chance developers को पता नहीं है, right? QAs को पता होगा, वो भी specific type of QAs को पता होगा, right? So I drew inspiration from that. वहां से इंस्पायर किया, वो अलग एक फील्ड है, प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट अलग फील्ड है, वहां से उठा के इधर ट्रांसपोज किया. There are certain gaps that I identified, जिसको मैंने gaps को fill किया, and I ended up creating, जो ऊपर एक मैंने PRD बनाई है. So I've written a PRD. Here's one PRD, in the classic format, and here is a PRD in the new format, written in Caret. Okay, I'll let you guys go through it by yourself, but this format allows you to actually programmatically track everything that is going on, and you can make it testable. It is testable altogether, right? You can use regex or something else to actually track whether user is logged in. Against that, you can create a step function which tests whether the user is actually logged in or not. So you can actually make this testable, right? And then I described it, and then I went one step again and I created a VS Code extension. VS Code is Visual Studio, for those who are aware. It's a tool to write code. So uska extension banaya, which I've uploaded here, and using that you can write Caret faster, right? In Caret faster. Okay. The reason I'm sharing this is, one, of course, I would like you guys to go through it and give me feedback and stuff, but that's the secondary point. The primary point is, it doesn't matter आपके पास 10 साल का experience, 12 साल का experience, 15 साल का experience, inspiration can come from anywhere. Okay. And usually great products, great ideas have come by fusing completely unrelated fields of work, right? So in this, I was very happy I went into the QA world and figured out there is something that could be utilized in the PM world, right? And given the fact that QAs are responsible for the quality of product that goes out, and surprise, surprise, product managers are also responsible for the same thing. They are responsible for quality of product. So in fact, I'm spending more time in learning more on how QAs work now, given that the KRAs are roughly similar, just that the responsibilities are different, right? So I'm sure there will be more things to learn from the QA world, which could be applied in the product world, product management world, right? So if I can draw inspiration from a very unrelated field or somewhat unrelated field, even after 15 years or 13 years of doing the same thing, I'm sure आप लोगों के पास मुझसे भी ज़्यादा ideas होंगे. Yes. So please apply wherever, whichever field you're coming in from. Doesn't really matter. Supply chain से आए हो, लगाओ, दिमाग लगाओ, right? But I do not want you guys to be lost in a wormhole जहाँ पे आप randomly कुछ भी सोच रहे हो, which is why I'm giving you a very set path. Write down your achievements. Okay. If you want to be adventurous, write down your failures also, if you really want to do that. But start with achievements. Create the impact, write the impact, qualitative, quantitative, doesn't matter. Just write down whatever impact you are aware of. And then rank this list in the order of what makes you the most proud. Okay. From this list, I will help you zero down on few topics that you should write about. Okay. And then hit the ball out of the park. We're going to create articles that you will be proud of. Okay. I understand you might not be comfortable writing long pieces. I understand that, but we have to get past it, because as a product manager, you will be required to write stuff. You will be required to convey your thoughts. You cannot simply say, मैं बोल रहा हूँ यार तू कर दे, दिमाग मत खा. You cannot do that. So आपको लिखना पड़ेगा, आपको convince करना पड़ेगा, आपको बताना पड़ेगा, right? Okay. So with this thought, I will pause and I'll open up the stage. Please ask as many questions as you want in the next 15 minutes. Aishwarya?
Yeah, Tanvir. So my first question is like you mentioned about achievements and failures, right? So it has to be like from like our professional background or the college life and everything we can include it.
No filter right now. At this stage, no filter. College life, professional life doesn't matter. What I will end up doing is when I start working with you guys, when I start going through this achievements, आपका कुछ भी achievement है, please, because you'll be sharing most likely personally with me or Aziz sir or Sarika, for example. There's a good chance I might find some pattern in your thought process. जो आपको शायद नहीं पता चलेगा क्योंकि आपने या तो सोचा नहीं या किसी ने आपको बताया नहीं या आपने ध्यान नहीं दिया, right? जो भी होता है, like usually it's very hard to know your own shortcomings, right? Which is why you need mentors. You're so close. I give an example. I usually do mention, right, कि आपका cameras देख लो, right? If you bring it too close to some object, वो focus ही नहीं कर पाता है. कितना अच्छा कैमरा हो, वो तो दूर जाओ, right? Visor में देखो, इसमें जाओ, इसमें देखो, right? So which is exactly what you need. You want somebody else to also have a look at your life, which is why you need mentors and you need somebody else, right? So doesn't matter, personal life, college, work life, relationships, doesn't matter. Just write it down. You went through a tough patch in your relationships, whatever it was, and then you bounced out of it. Okay. How did you do it? Worth finding out, right? That doesn't mean you're going to write about relationships because यहाँ पे recruiter को impress करना है, right? Right. So, but I'm quite sure that the reason you bounced out of a bad patch in your life in terms of relationships, very personal thing like a relationship, for example, would also reflect in some of the other work here that you've done, right? So we'll use that there. Shantanu? Aishwarya, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, Talvinder. So my question is that all of us might, including myself and all of us might have certain set of achievements that we would have achieved in our professional life till now, right? But sometimes it may or may happen that they might be we are not able to relate it with the product management role that we are trying to pursue. So how can we make that happen, or how can we take help in that case?
So which is why I said, do not think about what to write right now.
Okay.
Start with the achievements. Remove all the other baggage. I'm trying to give you a very systematic flow, right? I could have stopped at कि हाँ article लिखना है बहुत जरूरी होता है, salary इसमें लेंगी, session खत्म, bye bye, right? But there's a reason I'm telling you to do it this manner, in this manner, right? Start by not. So when you go back and try to take inspiration from your past life, and you guys are different than, let's say, graduates, freshers, right? Because freshers का तो सिर्फ college का experience होता है, which is relatively shallow, right? But in your case, almost all of you have some real world experience and you have done something, right? So which is why I'm saying, go back to your past experience, find out who you really are, right? उसके बाद देखेंगे कि इसमें से क्या यूज कर सकते हैं अपने प्रोडक्ट में, कहां से रिलेट करना है. And when I start working with you guys, which I've already started, when I start going through these individual exercises, you will gather कि अच्छा इस चीज को ऐसे सोच सकते हैं. ये first few times दिखाने के बाद you will get to a point where you will be able to figure it out on your own कि हाँ इसको यहाँ लगा सकते हैं, इसको वहां लगा सकते हैं, right? The same example, right? This idea, right? अब मैंने एक बार बता दिया कि अच्छा इस तरह से सोच सकते हैं कि हाँ mg के अगेंस्ट में ये फ्रिक्शन फोर्स लग रही है तो फ्रिक्शन का कोएफिशिएंट निकल सकता है. एक बार बता दिया. नाउ दूसरा एग्जांपल हो सकता है, एक बंदर दूसरे की पूंछ पकड़ के लटका हुआ है, राइट? फाइंड आउट द वेट एट विच द ऊपर वाले बंदर की पूंछ टूट जाएगी, राइट? तो आपको समझ में आ गया, सेम फंडा है, राइट? mg फोर्स लग रही है, ऊपर एक फोर्स लग रही है, and जो पूंछ ऊपर वाले बंदर की लगी हुई है, that is the one which is pulling balancing the force, the weight of the नीचे वाला बंदर. Same funda, right? तो इफ आई गिव यू, ये दूसरा एग्जांपल हो गया, ऐसा तीसरा एग्जांपल एक और निकाल देता हूं। सो देयर इज अ ट्रक, ट्रक के पीछे में एक बैरल है, वायर का बैरल है, ओके, which is being transported. At what acceleration the truck has to go that the barrel rolls out of the truck? तीनों में फंडे सेम है, तीनों क्वेश्चन में फंडे सेम है,
Right.
but I'm giving very different visuals to you so that you get confused. But because मैंने इतनी बार इस टाइप की प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व कर रखी है that मुझे पता है कि ये फंडे सब में सेम लग रहे हैं, correct? So which is why, so when you start doing this exercise right now, it might be baffling that how is this related to product management? May not be. I'm not saying all of that will be related to product management, but we'll be able to identify. So gradually you get to the point after doing 2 or 3 or maybe 4 of them, you get to a point where you will be able to see कि हाँ इसको मैं इस तरीके से दिखा सकता हूँ, इस तरह से बता सकता हूँ. That doesn't mean you're going to tweak something to force fit नहीं करना है अपने को, but you'll be able to see the underlying logic behind it.
Okay. Thanks, Arvind.
So first, just write down the जो मैंने आपको बताया, बस वो follow करो. Once you have done that exercise, we will be able to figure out which of these will be a good piece to write on to impress the recruiters. Let's not forget why we are doing this exercise. We do not enjoy writing, I mean, in general, right? But we are doing it because this is one of the best ways to tell the world that I have arrived, take notice of me. Yeah. Yes.
जी तलविंदर सर, ये जो आपने काम बताया है, ये काम है बाद का, which will be as a future or which will be as a current one. मेरा आपसे क्वेश्चन है पास्ट के लिए. So currently I'm in a phase in which I am developing my resume. Okay, my past experience is I started with a software developer and then I moved to the reporting or the dashboard building part. So till that time I was a developer. I created a software, so I can treat it as a product mindset and I can show the impact and all the other things. The way I'm treating my reports and each and everything is I am preparing a KPIs for the product in order to assess those products, that how these things are good enough or are these things are successful or a failure those. So
Yeah.
it is a part of not that much of a product thing. So कैसे इसको मैं अपने रिज्यूम में पोर्ट्रे करूं उस टाइप से
Got
कि
it.
वो चीज बताएं, क्योंकि बहुत ही ज्यादा डिस्टरबेंस हो रही है इस चीज को सोचने में.
Okay, so it's a very good question, and I think that deserves a full session by itself. How to create your resume. आज का session तो हो गया how to create a portfolio, right? How to create a portfolio which will sell.
Mhm.
हमारा काम है बेचना. Let's not like it's important to keep your bullseye बहुत clear कि हमें अपने आप, we are a talent product that I keep repeating, and you will perhaps listen to, you may have heard of this analogy again and again. When we take up a job, what exactly are we doing? We are trying to sell annual subscription of about 2400 hours of time. एक साल में 2400 घंटे आप काम करना चाहते हो, या आइडियली, राइट? 2400 hours आप काम करना चाहते हो, कर सकते हो, ठीक है? तो when you take up a job, you say कि हाँ 30 लाख रुपए मिलेंगे, अच्छी बात है. 30 लाख रुपए के अगेंस्ट में you are willing to barter your time, commit एक साल का सब्सक्रिप्शन. अब वो जो 2400 आवर्स का जो बंडल है आपके पास, उसका एक सिंगल एसक्यू बना के बेचना चाहते हो. अगर आप उसको ब्रेक डाउन करना चाहते हो तो फ्रीलांसर हो जाते हो, राइट? कि 100 घंटे में इसको दूंगा, 50 घंटे उसको दूंगा, ब्रेक डाउन करके बेच रहे हो. बट आप होलसेलर की तरह काम करना चाहते हो, करेक्ट? दिस वर्ड्स माइट साउंड ऑड, बट एक्चुअली दिस इज व्हाट इट इज. आप होलसेल में बेचने जाते हो कि साल का एक बार ले लो यार, मेरे को टेंशन नहीं लेनी है बार बार, करेक्ट? सो नाउ फॉर दैट पर्पस, अगर आपको किसी को, बिकॉज एक ही एसकेयू है, एक ही पर बेच सकते हो 2400 आवर्स, सब मल्टीपल लोगों को बेच नहीं सकते हो. सो यू आर गोइंग टू ट्राई टू फाइंड द राइट क्लाइंट फॉर योरसेल्फ, व्हिच इज द कंपनी दैट यू आर ट्राइंग टू गेट इनटू, राइट? हु गिव्स यू द मैक्सिमम बैंग फॉर योर बक्स, राइट? 2400 आवर्स में मजा आना चाहिए, अच्छे लोग होने चाहिए आसपास में, पर्क्स होने चाहिए, टेबल टेनिस होना चाहिए, राइट? अच्छा लैपटॉप मिलना चाहिए, स्वैग मिलना चाहिए, etc., etc. Right? You will have certain criteria. Correct. So now to that purpose, you are creating these assets. अगर आप actual freelancer होते क्या करते? You would have created this assets, right? First thing that people will say is कि अच्छा तुम जो भी हो यार मेरे को दिखाओ तुमने किया क्या है. That's exactly what people have done, right? दिखाओ तुमने क्या किया है. तो आपने एक साइट लॉन्च शेयर की होती है, आपने you would have shared a PDF, a presentation. You would have said कि अच्छा मेरी बात मत सुनो, मेरे पिछले clients हैं उनसे बात सुन लो, right? But then again you are relegating to your network. You're not relegating to your proof of work. Network पे लोग trust करते हैं after they trust your proof of work. Yeah, proof of work is the most powerful out of the three. FYI. Proof of work that is the reason there are a lot of these asshole developers. Nobody wants to work with them, but they are so incredible that companies and a lot of people are willing to work with them. कि ठीक है, पैसे दो, लेकिन ये बंदा जो काम कर सकता है कोई नहीं कर सकता है, so कर लेते हैं, right? And there's ample written about that on the internet. Read about it. ठीक है? So anyway, coming to your point, writing a resume is an instrument to get that annual contract. That is the reason I cited that analogy. Resume's purpose is to show your achievements, right? You can write about those achievements in the most succinct manner after you have first listed down your achievements in the first place. So resume writing should go through resume is the output of a lot of thought process. So before you even think about formatting, you think about, most of the people, how they write resumes. अच्छा resume लिखना है, resume templates of 2022, right? And then वो लिखना शुरू कर देते हैं, अच्छा ये 4 points लिखते हैं, इस तरह के लिखते हैं, right? सुंदर बनाना. That's the output. Think like a product manager. You don't start with a UI. You don't start with a UI. You start thinking about from the problem set. What is the problem set? What do I need to present, right? So if I have to create a resume for myself, खुदा ना खास्ता मुझे resume बनाना पड़ जाए आज, my exercise would not be कि अच्छा कितना सुंदर बना सकता हूँ मैं. My exercise first thing would be I'll write down the achievements that I believe are achievements. I'll write everything down. ठीक है? I will talk to some friends of mine to give me some perspective on which of these seem to be actual achievements, and am I missing out on something that I should write down? This way, I will make a comprehensive list of achievements and the reason why I call them achievements. So impact क्या था? ठीक है? Then number 3 would be, I will identify which companies I would want to go into. Remember, I'm not making a resume for myself. It's a sales tool for me. So if I am selling, if you had a product, if you had a software, I'm trying to think of a product that I can give an example of. If I have a product that I have to sell to, annual contract किसी को बेचना है मुझे, I'll think about, right, कि what are they looking for? What is their problem? What are their problem sets? Which I can say that, which I can show that my product fulfills your problem set, right? It can solve your pain point. And then I'll create a brochure around it. Right? So for example, I have this 3 TWS, right? ये 3 TWS हैं, right? ये तीनों अलग-अलग companies के हैं, तीनों के अपने वो हैं, right? So this one says कि भाई इसमें बहुत सारा base है, right? ये नहीं बोलता है कि base के चक्कर में बाकी सारे sound की स्थिति हो जाती है, ये नहीं बोलता है, right? ये बोलता है बहुत sound, clear sound है, ये नहीं बताता कि battery बहुत कम है, right? ये बोलता है मेरा sound stage बहुत अच्छा है, यानी कि the sound is very good. ये नहीं बताता है कि it cannot connect with multiple devices. It can connect only one device. It's a very सीधा साधा monogamous relationship maintain करता है, एक बार में एक ही device, right? So now these 3 products have 3 different feature sets, so they will appeal to different set of people. Correct? Similarly, when you are creating the resume, आपने achievements बनाई, उनका impact बनाया, then we start identifying कि अच्छा for the companies and the sector I want to get into, which of these achievements will matter the most? Because then you would want these to be the points in your resume, number one. And number two, you would want people to ask you about these. As we go along in our career sessions, I'll talk about how to handle interviews and how to drive the conversations. The idea in the interviews is, थोड़ा सा आगे की बात कर रहा हूँ, but the idea in the interviews is to you lead the conversation, do not let the other person lead the conversation. Okay, so you would want to drop enough breadcrumbs that the person picks one of those breadcrumbs and you say कि हाँ मेरे जाल में आ गया है तू, अब सुन मैंने क्या क्या किया है. You do not want them to lead the conversation and put you in an odd position जहाँ पे आपको समझ भी नहीं आ रहा क्या पूछूंगा. It is not easy, it doesn't succeed, it doesn't work all the time, but your strategy should be such where you want to drive them down to where you want to talk about your achievements and your work that you've done. Okay? So Amir, completely जो आपका आंसर है वो future sessions में complete हो जाएगा. But this is basically the starting point. आपको चालू वहीं से करना है. आपका forget about कि ये product से connected है नहीं है, doesn't matter. It is connected, not connected, it really doesn't matter. What matters is, first of all, you need to have a laundry list of all the work that you've done, the impact that it has created. Number 3 is, if I really become pedantic, something that I had done 5-6 years back when the last time I was interviewing. The third thing was I categorized all of these achievements or things that I've done into blocks. Okay. So I created, for example, this particular achievement connects with customer experience. This particular experience connects with, let's say, process efficiency. This particular connects with something else, right? Mobile app, for example, or something similar. So I created a whole laundry list of all the stories that I had and the areas it impacted. So now when I have this inventory about what I have done in the past, some of this was written in the resume because resume utni jagah hoti hai. So you can only talk about few things. Yeah. But then when I go in the interview, to पूछ के तो देख, right? To पूछ के देख about something, and I have at least 3 instances or examples where I've done something. But वो तभी आप बोल पाओगे when you are like intently aware of what you've done in the past. So which is why the exercise that you're going to start today about writing, resume, etc. is going to give you so many benefits. It will prepare you for an interview, it will prepare you for a resume, it will prepare your portfolio. Cool?
Thank you, sir.
So please do this in all your sincerity. Please do that.
Yeah, we'll definitely.
Okay. Abhirup?
Hi, Talvinder. Just talking to you after a long time. So just wanted to ask that the initial CVs that I made, I was actually not getting anything from the CVs that I made. I had listed down all the achievements, and then I had a call with Jasiji wherein he said ki ATS is looks for the keywords in your CV.
Yeah.
So I tested my CV, and it was showing only 33% match. So then now what I've realized is for every job that I see, I have to list down certain key points which are more important rather than what my achievements are. So in one of the CVs where I had listed down all my achievements, it was scoring only 36%. When I started as per what is needed for the job role, the percentage went up. But how relevant is it? Is it just to go let the CV go through the initial gateway? I have to alter it every time for every other job, or how does it exactly work? Because it is for every single job. In one of the job roles, my CV was showing 76% match, and the same CV for a different role, I had 0 soft skills. So I had to again alter my CV and then apply. So what do I need to do exactly? How does it work?
That's a great question. I will explain this with an analogy. So let's say you are launching a D2C e-commerce company. D2C is direct to consumer. आजकल उसी का ज़माना है. So you're launching a D2C e-commerce company where you sell. What do you want to sell? You sell shoes. Okay, you sell. You manufacture and you sell shoes, right? The first thing would be the good. I mean, there's a good chance that the first thing would be my shoes are amazing because उसमें मैंने ये टेक्नोलॉजी यूज की है, स्नीकर का ये टेक है, उसमें mesh है, इसमें लेस ऐसी है जो कि खुलती नहीं है, etc. Right? You'll just simply write a document which just talks about all the achievements of this particular sneaker, why this sneaker matters. Right? In the sea of sneakers, इतने सारे available हैं, why should you bother? You'll just write it down. And perhaps you will just pass this as a single note on WhatsApp to all your friends. Right? That's the first thing you'll do. Friends से feedback मिलना शुरू होगा. अब क्या करोगे? अच्छा, I need to elaborate. जो मुझे लग रहा था, I was assuming that this achievement is enough to sell the shoe. I need to elaborate why this particular kind of sneaker tech matters. For example, जो नीचे का foam है, right? हमने sneakers पहने होंगे. So नीचे का फोम है वो हमारा स्पेशल है. ये टाइप का फोम इफ यू हैव टू गेट इट इन नाइकी इट विल कॉस्ट यू 20,000 rupees. We are giving you 4,000 rupees. Right? So I have to explain more why this sneaker matters, why this foam matters. So you'll spend more time in elaborating it. करते you'll realize that not everybody is still able to relate with it because they have not used sneakers that way. They just use sneaker for the heck of it. They're not using it for performance. They're not using it for like walking for long distances. They're not using it for running. They're not using it for gymming. Then that is where you have to take a decision. Are you making sneakers for general purpose casual wearing, or you're making it for athletic wear, for athletic usage? Right? So this is where you're specializing or you're defining the documentation that needs to be created and the positioning that should be created for a specific audience. Right? And so on. And then gradually you'll get to the point where you'll start optimizing it further. So yeah, optimization shuru ho chuka hai. Now you will create a website maybe to present the material a little better. Then you'll get to the point where you add better interfaces. You'll show how this foam is created, the layers involved in that foam, and so on and so forth. Yeah. How is this related to what you're saying? Resumes kick off if you do not have substance, key substance, which is the achievements or the things that you've done. You'll not be able to write anything, right? Company बोलती है JD में कि मुझे I want people with analytics, with product analytics experience. Okay. तो मैंने झूठ लिख दिया कि मैंने तो product analytics इतना सब कुछ किया, सब कुछ आता है मेरे को. शायद shortlist भी हो जाओगे, लेकिन then interview में निकल के आ जाएगा. Maybe like, you know, majority of the people will be thrown out, but some people who have that caliber of learning deep in a short period of time, maybe they will be able to sell that story. Right? But in general, that's an exception, not a rule, right? So if you start from achievements, you will be able to draft your first resume, which works for a certain class of companies, a class of company plus role combination. Okay, that doesn't mean that one resume is going to work for everyone. Just an example there, right? कि आप एक annual contract बेच रहे हो अपना life का, right? So if all of you, if any one of you have worked with any services company, like a digital marketing company, a PR company, or anything, when they create their sales pitch, तो आपका कैसे होता है? Typically they will have the first call with you. You will explain them the problem set that you are facing, and then they will come back to you with a deck, which is usually customized to your problem. that आपको ये problem है, आपका brand ऐसा है, तो हम आपके लिए ये करके देंगे. Right? It's very similar in your case as well, except that you will try not to have to create resume for every single job separately. तो आप कोशिश करोगे you generalize your resume, which is exactly where you start visualizing your resume as a product. That you have to make your resume generic enough that it gets used at multiple places and is impressive at multiple places, At the same time, at places where you really want to get into, you do not mind creating another version of it to tweak it slightly more, because I really want to get into such sector or such company. Just like in a product company also, right? अब Oyo है, Oyo product company है, generic बना दिया कि हाँ, if you want one retail room, go to my app, book the room, and you get the room. Finish. But if you want to book 100 rooms, आप रुको सर, मैं आता हूँ आपके घर पे. This actually happens, by the way. मैं आता हूँ आपके घर पे. I am going to create the entire laundry list. आपको Excel sheet दिखाऊंगा, ये करूंगा, वो करूंगा, ताकि I can get 100 rooms from you in one go. I'm going to customize my solution to meet your needs. You want all the 100 rooms के अंदर एक invite का एक welcome basket होगा sir. Right? I can do all of that jazz. Correct? Even Oyo is willing to do that. Everybody is willing to do that. Ola का भी same कहानी होगी. I want 100 cars for my शादी, तो ठीक है, मिल जाएगा सर. किस टाइप के कार्स चाहिए, सब मिल जाएगा. Right? So anyway, long story short, so Abhiru, जो आप बात करो, that is the later stages. If you guys have gone through the content in unit 10, module 10, I think, design, there is this idea of 5 layers, right? You start from the basic concept, then you create the wireframe, and karte, eventually you get the UI. You get the final UI, right? Same thing here. You start with your achievements. You discuss with your well-wishers and people whom you trust to figure out which achievements matter, which achievements can become good story starters or discussion starters. You incorporate some of them in your resume, first draft. Then you start optimizing the resume for specific sectors or companies, at which point you start using the word that ATS understands. This is the journey. You cannot start from that side. If you're aware of those keywords, maybe that you will be able to shorten the entire development process. You can do that. But my usual recommendation is you should start from achievements, because then you're not biased. आप biased नहीं हो जाते हो कि मुझे तो ये लिखवाना है. It leads to certain kind of mental block. Right? So that's basically my suggestion.
Sure. Thank you.
But when we go into the resume development exercise, I think I'll go much deeper into. जैसे आज portfolio में मैंने आप लोगों को इतना सारा सर खाया है कि लिखो और क्यों लिखना जरूरी है, क्या फायदे होंगे. वैसे resume में भी I'll talk about a lot of these things. So technical limitations and the way the game is played. I think best way to summarize today's session would be कि do realize that we are all players in the game, right? वो Shakespeare वाली कहानी, right? The world is a stage and you are just a actor, right? वैसे ही same कहानी है कि you are in the work, you are playing a large game, a game of life, जिसमें 20 साल 30 साल आप काम करना चाहते हो, right? And we are all players. We are all playing that game, knowingly, unknowingly, intentionally, unintentionally. We like it, we don't like it, doesn't matter. But most of us do not have the luxury or the option to live a nomadic life and say कि society के भाड़ में मैं जा रहा हूँ अपना काम करूँ. Right? Even if you choose to follow your passion, जो आजकल का चल रहा है, solo, bolo, momo, yomo, whatever it is, right? Even if that is the case, you're still going to, even when you follow a passion, आपको musician बनना है, पहाड़ों में जाके गाने बनाने हैं, by all means go do that. But then do realize you're going to play a different game. Right? You're playing a different game in that case. So as long as you are aware of the game that you are playing and the rules of that game, you will come out strong. So in this particular case, you're playing the game of finding a job and having a stable, nice life. In this case, it's important to know the game that you are part of, the rules of this game, which is, for example, जैसे सर ने बताया होगा कि ATS होता है, ATS के अंदर keywords होते हैं. So आपको अगर rule पता है, then आप optimize कर लोगे. अगर rule पता ही नहीं है, आपको लगेगा यार क्या ही problem है life में, right? वो गधे को job लग रही है, मेरे को नहीं लग रही है. ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है? क्योंकि उस गधे ने rule समझ लिए, right? So you start observing the rules around you, the constraints around you, things that are out of your control. You will come out a winner. Cool. So with that preachy Gyan, Thank you so much for being in the session and to stay throughout. I hope this was helpful, meaningful, and आपके nods and yes से मुझे फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा, मुझे फर्क पड़ेगा when I start seeing those achievement के list. That's when I'll really believe that this was useful. अगर नहीं है, then I'll repeat the same session again till some of you follow it. ठीक है? It's a humble request and a firm order to please do yourself a favor, go back in your past, howsoever good or bad it was, and create a list of achievements. If you believe you have no achievements, I think you are massively mistaken. अगर वैसा होता आपको कोई जॉब ही नहीं देता, right? अगर आपके पास आज जॉब है, लोगों ने आपको पैसे दिए हैं for whatever reason, then आपने कुछ तो किया है. Sit down, document it. ठीक है? This is what I would like to see. You'll get a separate email with a certain timeline within which you should be doing this. This exercise should not take more than 3 days, in my opinion. Sunday है, मुहूर्त का दिन है, आज ही कर लो. ठीक है? Sooner the better. So create that list, right? Sarika has already mentioned in the chat where to send the submissions. So I would like to see all of you submitting your achievement list, the impact, and a ranked order. That what do you think is your proudest thing, less proud, etc. We will figure from there what to write first, what to write on first. Okay. If you already feel confident about something, आप खुद ही बोल दो कि हाँ मैं इस पे लिखना चाहता हूँ या चाहती हूँ. Not one, but 3-4 इन सब चीजों पे लिखना चाहता हूँ चाहती हूँ. I'll be able to help you out to pick the sequence in which you should write. पहले किसको लिखो, बाद में किसको लिखो. ठीक है? So Sarika has given a deadline, Tuesday midnight.